Hi, my name is LANI, and I want to welcome you to my very first coaching video. I am a certified neurolinguist and a certified hypnotist, and I help people maneuver through the upsets in their world and reach their fullest potential. And today I want to talk to you about emotions, specifically anxiety. Brain researcher Jill Bolt Taylor states that emotions last only 90 seconds. So once we're triggered or we react to something in the environment, chemicals are released by the brain, which are then sent throughout the body, and which then causes a physiological or physical response, a feeling, and that soon escapes our system. And all of this only lasts 90 seconds. But obviously, when you think of emotions like anxiety, those lingering feelings, they seem to last well beyond those 90 seconds. So what gives? Choice. Taylor states that we create these feelings of anxiety by choosing to hold on to them. We replay memories and painful stories in our mind over and over again, and we tell these stories numerous times to those around us. So in essence, we're choosing to hold on to those lingering feelings well beyond 90 seconds. So how do you lessen those feelings of anxiety? Now, when you're stuck in an emotional or problematic state, you're stuck in only one hemisphere of the brain. So to get off that hamster wheel of continuous bad feelings, you have to engage your whole brain, both the left and right brain hemisphere. Now, if you're someone who has routine feelings of anxiety over many years, you've begun to ingrain this way of reacting in the neural pathways of your brain. It's become habit. Now, the good news is brain plasticity. We can rewire and change patterns or behaviors by engaging our whole brain and interrupting how we would normally react through repetition. This way, we're creating new neural pathways, new behaviors that serve us better. Now, to interrupt those behaviors and habits no longer serving you, I'm going to give you 5 shockingly simple and quick ways to lessen anxiety in seconds. Now, the first technique I want to talk to you about revolves around language, how we use language to express things like anxiety, express our feelings. Now, oftentimes we'll say things like, I am anxious. I'm anxious. But when we say I am, we're bringing feelings to an identity level. We're saying we are that thing. It's important to recognize and realize that feelings are outside of us. They're a fleeting emotion that changes from moment to moment. Now, as an example, to prove that words matter, let's talk about making $10,000. What if you were to say to yourself, I hope to make $10,000. I need to make $10,000. I must make $10,000. I would like to make $10,000. Notice how each phrase changes your own internal experience about how deeply you feel about it. Now, we do this with other people. Oftentimes when we're communicating with one another, we're very careful and cognizant of the words we choose so we don't miscommunicate or offend someone. Now, isn't it nice to know that we can make these same little language modifications to show our own self that love and attention and that care? Now, as we talk about language, that brings us to technique 2, peripheral vision. Now, if you're someone who suffers from a lot of internal dialogue, a lot of inner chatter that might be a little self-deprecating, this is perfect for you. Now, as someone who used to suffer from social anxiety, I wish I knew this technique back then because it changes your world. Now, all you have to do, which is very simple, is stare at a focal point in front of you. Just pick a spot. And as you focus on that spot, start defocusing or softening your gaze. Don't move your head at all, but just start noticing the space around that focal point. And start noticing the space that exists further away from that focal point. So expanding to start noticing the space from the ceiling to the floor, from the far left wall to the far right wall, and even imagining the space behind you. And the moment you start utilizing peripheral vision, you'll just notice this overwhelming feeling of calm and relaxation. Imagine all the ways you can apply this. If you're someone who in business has to speak to a lot of people in front of an audience giving a presentation, or if you're a musician on a stage or an actor in the theater, imagining using this technique of peripheral vision so that you're looking at your audience, but not really looking at them. So this is the quickest way to just get out of your head and get that feeling of calm. Now this leads us to technique number 3. Now, oftentimes when we're experiencing those feelings of anxiety, we're getting stuck on the story or the content, the things we tell ourselves about that experience or that moment. Now, a great way to reduce the feelings of anxiety is to focus on the form. But what do I mean by that? Now, this takes a little bit of practice and awareness, but start noticing what happens before you get those feelings of anxiety. Are you creating a picture in your mind of a person or an event? And is that picture you've created in color? Is it moving? How close do you see that image? Is it right in front of you? Now, you can start manipulating the image and to start reducing that feeling of anxiety. For instance, if you see that image in color and it's moving, what if you start seeing it as a still image, like a photograph? And what if it was in black and white? If it's close to you, what happens if you push it far away or reduce it in size? Notice what changes when you change the form. You could do this with auditory sounds as well. If you have that internal chatter in your mind of things you're saying to yourself, or you're hearing a voice of someone else saying things to you, what happens if you take that internal voice and bring it outside of you and make it seem like it's coming from a cartoon character like Mickey Mouse? What would you think of that sound if it were to come from a Mickey Mouse character in a high-pitched tone? Would you still be so intimidated by that voice? And you can do this with a lot of things, like a feeling as well, a kinesthetic feeling. What are you feeling? Where is it in your body? What happens if you gave that feeling a color or a shape? What would happen if you change that color or shape? Or if you take that feeling outside of you as if you're holding it in your hand? These are all ways to disassociate from the content, ways to kind of reduce those feelings by manipulating how you're telling that story to yourself. It's a great way to reduce feelings of anxiety or any emotion that's really strong or visceral. So start playing and becoming aware of that. You can play with all those visual, auditory, kinesthetic, submodalities, and notice what you notice when the experience changes. Now this leads us to technique number 4. Now, earlier stated, when we're stuck in an emotional state, it's because we're stuck in one brain hemisphere. This technique allows you to engage both the left and right brain hemispheres in moments. So it's very simple to do. All you first have to do is pick something that gives you that feeling of anxiety. Now give it a number on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most visceral feeling that you feel. Now if you're at a 4 or 5, crank up that feeling until you're at least about a 7 or 8. And once you have that, and you have that number, all you have to do is pick up something, like a ball or a set of keys, something that you can easily toss. I have a set of keys right here. So what I'm going to do is simply take these keys and pass them from side to side. This is allow you to gauge both brain hemispheres, and make sure when you're passing something back and forth that you're allowing your both hands to cross your midsection. And as you do this, notice how quickly that number drops, and those feelings of anxiety begin to lessen to a state of calm. And last but not least, this brings you to technique number 5. Now, if you're currently feeling those feelings of anxiety, what you can do quickly is to step out of them. You can do this physically or just mentally step out of that situation. Now, when you step out, you become the observer. That observer then looks on the former you that was in that feeling of stuckness, of upset. Now, as the observer, and looking at that other you, notice what that other you needs. What resource does that other you need? For instance, do you need calm? Do you need playfulness? Do you need curiosity? Do you need to feel safe? And then think of a time when you had that resource. when you were calm. When you think about that time of calm, for instance, see what you see when you're calm. Are you at a beach? What is the image that conjures in your mind of calm? And are you hearing something when you're calm? What do you feel in your body when you're calm? Conjure those visual, auditory, and kinesthetic feelings of that resource that you need. Crank it up as high as you can to really embody that resource now. And once you have that resource and you're feeling that, go back to that state. You can physically go back into that chair or where you were standing in that position before, but now you have that resource state. Notice what shifts now that you have that resource state. And notice how that reduces those previous feelings of anxiety or upset. Essentially, all this is requiring you to do is to be the observer. Be the observer that knows what you need, and just give that to yourself. And there you have it. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please leave me a comment or send me an email. And if you know somebody else who might benefit from this video, please share it on. I'd really like to make these videos for you, so please also share the topics that interest you that you might need help on. And again, I just want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope you tune in next time.